Sadhgurnath Maharaj Ki Jai. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first Sattvik cooking week.
Thank you.
I would like to first request Lavarji that on behalf of all of us for auspiciousness to please chant a few mantras. So he's going to sing something to just bring us all together, unite us all together in our minds and in our thoughts, and to bring that magic and to bring that that divine resounding sound to all of our ears, and to bestow upon us great auspiciousness for this first endeavor. Thank you.
Namah Parvati Pataye Hara 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 Mahadev. Sadhgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Hari Om Annapate Nasyano Deshanami Vasya Shukamena Prapradataranta Rika Urjanno Dehidvipade Chatukhapade Nabhya asi dantarikshagum shirishanodyau samavartata padvyam bhumiradishaha shrutrat tatha lokam akalpayanna annapurne sadapurne Shankara Pranavallabhe Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartha Bhikshandehi cha Parvati Mata cha Parvati Devi Pita Devo Maheshwaraha Bandhava Shiva Bhaktascha Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadhgurnath Maharaj Ki Jai.
Big round of applause.
So I'm going to first continue with Baba on Siddha cooking. So I'm going to start with a quote from him. Food is full of bliss. Food is the life of life. But only if you handle it in the right way can you be happy. You should neither eat too much nor too little. You should be clean and pure when you cook, and you should eat in a clean and pure place. Eat only as much as you can digest. One who is not disciplined in eating can neither practice yoga, nor be healthy, nor have good thoughts. Muktananda says, food is the essence of life. It is through food that a person is born. He lives by food too, and ultimately he merges into the earth which produces food. The most important thing in life is food. It should be treated as God. If a cook treats food as God, you recognize the life force within it. This energy is conscious. It's what makes food nourishing. If you treat food as God, you choose the most nourishing food you can find. Fresh fruits and vegetables, plump grains, and you can cook it in a way that preserves the life force. You give it your total attention. You handle it with respect and love. Your Shakti, your energy, enters the food as you work with it. And if you treat food as God, those vibrations are pure. If you treat food as God, you become God while you cook. You reach inside yourself to the place of identification, the place where you know you're God. And then you cook from that place. And after you cook, you offer the food back to God. Then the food that is God becomes his prasad, his gift as well. Share it generously. Muktananda says, feed a lot of people. Food is God. Now, just so everybody knows that everything that we are going to cover in the morning class and in the afternoon baking class, everything is going to come to you at the end of the class on sheets. So everything has also been color-coded. So everything that is baba will be in orange. Everything that is all the meals of the morning will be in blue. And everything that's in the afternoons with the baking class will all come to you in pink. So the idea is at the very end, you'll have a little slip folder like this with all of these items that you've learned and been a part of in that little slip cover, and that will come to you. So in terms of notes and all of that, the recipes and the items that get done in the kitchen, you don't need to write down. Anything else in between that you wish to, that's up to you. But just so you're aware of that. And also, we have it in Spanish, Nicheshwari, as well. So Nicheshwari translated in Spanish, so we also have Spanish versions also. So, and just so everybody knows that this is going to be our Bible. This is our Bhagavad Gita. This is our scripture. And this is what is going to be our GPS, our navigation for the entire week. Baba's Siddha cooking book. So I'm just familiarizing everyone with the elements that we're going to be covering. So the first thing that I wanted to share was many people in their minds might be thinking a couple of things, or maybe not thinking at all. But one of them that came to my mind was, why would Devyani be teaching a cooking class, number one? Why would Devyani be teaching a Sattvik cooking class when we never see her cook? And what makes her the candidate for teaching such a week? So I just thought I'd give just a little bit of background. The first thing that makes me eligible for this is that I love food. Anyone who knows me could say that hands down. Anywhere, any place, any country, anywhere, is that I absolutely love and adore food. The second one is that Gurda requested that I teach this class, as all of you know. And when he first mentioned it, down in conversations, it was kind of like a casual, oh, Devyani's going to have this cooking class at the end of November. And it was like, whoa. And it wasn't so much that I resisted the actual offer from him, but it was more about, okay, I need time to prepare for this. If we're going to have a little group, whether it's 2 people or whether it's 10 people or 20 people, I need to be prepared. And I need to have time to go into those archives and bring all of that forward, where it starts with my love for food and how it became a worship of food. So that was the first piece. The second part was where in the calendar are we going to put this, because the calendar was already done and there was I didn't see any room anywhere to add all of this to it. So when it all finally came together, then of course I was absolutely moved, because it came during the week of Diwali and Anakut and the worship of food on Wednesday. So I thought, yay, so it's all combined, it's all there, it's all present. So now I'm going to go to just a quick thing about, well, let me continue on that note. So basically, when I grew up, in my early days from the age of 6 to 13, I'm going to tell you what I grew up on. That was Eggo, frozen waffles. That was Kraft macaroni and cheese from the box. That was microwaved baked potatoes. There was eggs. There were toast. And there was my mother's famous chocolate sheet cake, weekly, that my sister and I made in a jelly roll pan with 6 ingredients only. This is what we lived on every day from the age of 6 to 13. I didn't know anything about food. I didn't know anything about fresh I didn't know anything about organic. None of that was in my terminology or in my framework. However, then it was moving on to the ashram, to the Oakland ashram at the age of 13. And I still, to this day, can remember entering the dining room, going through that line, and the food that was served, rice and beans and grains, and having no clue of even half of these things. What is a lima bean? Those big white fat beans. It's like we had never even had those before. Any of the things that we went through, but all we had to do every day, 3 times a day, was take our tray, walk through that line, and just take whatever was being served to us. You sat down, nobody talked, you ate your food. Some of it you liked, some of it you didn't, still to this day. I don't like bitter melon, I don't like okra, sometimes it took me a long time to get used to eggplant. But whatever was prepared, that's what it was. There wasn't no secondary choice. Oh, and let me also just say something here. Just a quick disclaimer to everyone. If I say anything through the class, nothing is pointed at any single person, any single cook, any single person here. It's just information that that comes through my door. And so if it comes out in the midst of this with everybody, just know it's not aimed towards anyone. Just take it as it comes and keep moving. Don't pick it up for anything other than just whatever it is in the moment, okay? Because I can tell already things are going to come up. So there was never the thing. So if we talk about gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan-free, all these things which exist today, none of that was in our content. None of that was in our library in those days. So you just came through the line, you got your food, you went and sat down, you ate it, your belly was full, and you were done. The thought of it being prasad in those early days, I never really understood those terms then about what the word prasad meant. But I can tell you that over the years, every single meal, every single offering from anyone who cooks anywhere in the world, whether they know it as being prasad, whether they know about cooking with awareness, cooking with love, not cooking with love, anywhere, that has become a mantra for which that food is consumed by this body. And I think we're all very, very fortunate that we get to have such an abundance of so many different items, so many different flavors, so many different Eastern, Western, Mexican, this, that. I mean, from anywhere in the world, everything comes always through the ashram kitchens. So over the years, what else, let's see, what else makes me a great candidate for teaching the class? Traveling the world nonstop for 40 years, eating everything from the most simply cooked foods to the Michelin star restaurants. Countries, cultures, basic food, gourmet food, and every home that we go to, I'm always the first to go to the fridge of that house or that home and just do a quick scan of what there is to work with there. Because usually sometimes upon arrival or something, Gurda will say, go and see what they have, or why don't you go and make this, or why don't you go and make that, why don't you go make chai for everybody. So then we started, instead of having it be so spontaneous, it became, make sure when we arrived there you got milk, you got water, you got this, you got that, and then we started to have like a small list if it was chai ingredients, and then food, we just would kind of play it by ear. Purchasing and buying the ingredients world over, learning about all the various names and their shapes and the flavors and the dishes, and also making menus for all of the ashrams, pretty much since their inception in 1987. So like when we started even here with the menus, and sometimes the cooks would say, or Nicheshwari would say, somebody doesn't know what, you know, what it comes up on the menu, aloo gobi, what is aloo gobi? So then we started putting potatoes and cauliflower. But just like even going into that level of detail of where everybody could start to learn what those dishes are. So I would say that, and also in that not liking bitter melon and okra, sour cereal was one of those too. But now that's definitely changed since Gopita's been back on the scene and making sour cereal. Now it's become an all-time favorite. So from 6 to 13, those were the basic items that we ate every day. Then it became going to the ashram and learning all about Baba's food. And when I was in Ganesh Puri in 1978, 79, 80, somewhere there, before Baba had taken Samadhi, I had the honor of being able to make the dosas in Amrit. So that was where kind of my experience with Baba came into the kitchen. And then after that, it was with Gurudev and Guru Mai in South Fallsburg over here, where one of Baba's cooks, Damayanti, and I used to cook there together. But over the years, a lot of that kind of just like it was all there, but like slowly kind of dissolved over the years till it became traveling and moving, and then the cooking thing kind of took like a very, very distant, a distant back seat. And then as the ashrams became more and more busy, then it became all about administration, running the ashrams, sustaining them, so the cooking kind of took a back seat. But I do love to cook, but I'm also very particular that I like to have the time to cook. So when you cook, one has to be completely absorbed in that, and it's not just a quick thing going in the kitchen for 15 minutes, putting something together. Yes, I'm sure many of us and all of us do that, but the joy of cooking really comes when we can get immersed in it. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to first acknowledge all of the cooks that we have here, and I wanted to introduce each of those cooks. So the first one I would say is Ashok. So Ashok is one of our all-time favorite cooks, and I would say that his strengths in the kitchen is being able to just kind of walk on down, open up the fridge, see what's there. Obviously, all the cooks actually that we're going to talk about, none of them really use any menus at all. I mean, recipes at all. Everybody has their list of ingredients. So the chef comes down, and his specialty is just being able to kind of put it all together in one like quick sweep. He comes in there, and he's just very at ease, with a lot of freedom, not too much thinking, an empty mind, and being able to just kind of out of that bring something wonderful and delicious to the serving line. Then we have Prabhu, who joined us back in November, and I don't know, I didn't write all these down with like everybody's like bios and stuff, so I don't have all that. I just know that he came back to us in November, but before that he was in Magod cooking with Mahendrabhai. I learned a lot of his cooking from Mahendrabhai, introduced some of his own ideas to that, and the more time that I've spent with him in the last year, even on the menu planning and all of that, I was always encouraging him, think for yourself and do what comes to you. It doesn't have to be an exact replicate from whatever you learn there, but now carry it forward with your own flavor. And I would say with Prabhu, his strength is, again, being able to do it with love and joy, and being able to do it in a relaxed fashion. So there's never any, whenever you come into the kitchen, there's never really any stress. And one thing that I would like to say about all of our cooks, and all cooks in general, I think is, I think sometimes there's a perception that cooks get tense in the kitchen. I would say it's not always that there's tension or stress in the kitchen, it's more of them trying to maintain a focus and being one-pointed on all of those steps, and especially when you have things on flames and fire, you need to make sure that your attention stays absolutely one-pointed on what you're doing, so that you don't have any accidents. Then I move on to Ron and Jackie. And I would say that there was something that I was sharing with Nicheshwari this morning in preparation for this. And I was going to say that with them, I would say the highlight or the strength that I experience with them is, number one, they don't live here. They come here 3 days a week, 4 days a week, if you include satsang, more than that. And whether it's rain or snow or anything happening with the weather or the elements, I've never gotten a phone call saying we can't come today. And we're talking years. We're not talking weeks or months, we're talking years. And also, a specialty of the kitchen, I think, is that one has to be able to take care of all of the cabinetry, the pantry. There's like a much more wider, we're not going to go over all these details, I'm just giving you guys the overview. But in terms of, there's a lot of responsibility that goes with kitchen, not just cooking. There's prepping, there's buying, there's the ingredients, there's the grocery stores, there's the farm stands, trying to acquire all of those items and then being able to bring it there, storing it, not having wastage, not having things go bad. So it's trying to stay up with all of that all of the time to finally, when it comes time for the prep time, the cooking time, and then finally when we bring it to the actual serving table, and we'll cover the whole serving thing during the course of our week, our 5 days. So I would say with Ron and Jackie, so it's that dedication, that devotion, and that commitment to this is what's happening, and every single time showing up for that task. Then I would say, then we go to Ramesh and Ambika, who visit us from Argentina. And again, like I said before, I've had the joy of being able to go to all of these places, eat all of this beautiful food everywhere. So then whenever somebody is coming this direction, so we've had Chitkala now coming in, so we'll get to start tasting some of her food. Bhakti from India coming in, we haven't had a chance to taste too much of hers, but hopefully for Anaku, we'll have a couple of items present. But being able to enjoy all of these flavors. But with Ramesh and Ambika, I would say again, their food always reflects a quiet mind. It reflects the purity and that Sattvik approach. And also that one of their specialities is that everything is chopped very fine. So when it goes into your mouth, it's easy to eat. And there's a lot of things that they make that we haven't had a chance to visit, but over the upcoming years, we'll make sure to do that. One is their pâtés and their spreads, okay? And in Argentina, we're always gifted when we get there with a wonderful little basket that always has all of these different pâtés that they put all their little signature ingredients tied to each of the jars. And then when we're traveling, that becomes something that we have on toast there or on crackers, but always everything very fresh. And I'm trying to think of right now in my head, some of them are like a sun-dried tomato spread, some of them are a hummus spread, some of them are an olive pâté, a walnut spread, a chestnut one. So all of this we have to look forward to coming through our own kitchens here. More picnics. And then if we go to all of the baking, so we have Jackie, we have Mary Sue, we have Gina, Cheryl, Shoshana, Durga, all of these people who bake regularly for the ashram. And as I always say, the baking is something very different from cooking. Cooking, as we'll come to see through Baba's book, the cooking is always very free and without measurements. Baking is always with measurements. So that's the main difference between cooking and baking, right? With measurement, without measurement. And they always bring us all of these delightful dishes and cakes and muffins and cookies and toffee bars. And we're going to have 4 days of the baking. So each morning we'll have whatever we cook in the morning from like shortly starting till 12:30. We'll be in the kitchen, so we'll all go in there, we'll have our demonstration, and we'll cook whatever's going to be cooked, and we'll have that for lunch, and that'll be our lunch meal. And then in the afternoons, we'll have, and so the cook will vary each day, right? And then in the afternoons for the baking, it'll be the same thing. Each afternoon, we'll have the baking class from 3 to 5. With a different baker, different cookies or different sweet thing offered. And then we'll also have the chai classes in the afternoon. So we'll have 3 or 4 different chai classes. 2 will be chai classes, 1 will be on masala milk, and 1 will be another type of chai. So that'll be our drinks in the afternoon. Or I think Gaurav mentioned he wanted the honey, ginger, and lemon drink to also be incorporated. So we'll add that to as well, reminder of the day. So we'll add that one to our list of recipes. And then we'll all sit down at 5 o'clock and have our afternoon, whatever was baked, with whatever drink was made. So that'll be our afternoons. So just to give you a little bit of idea on the format. And I also just wanted to make sure that I thanked, I think it was Niyata, Ram, and Sita yesterday with very, very little notice. I had requested them after, because it was something that I had on my mind the whole week, but then never really externalized it. But it was after satsang and after lunch dishes yesterday, Sunday satsang, if the kitchen could be cleaned so that we could all start off on the right note. Because always Baba's environments and what we were taught was that cleanliness, that saucha, and that should be permeating everywhere. And as I noticed about a week ago, I think when we were in there for the last program, Navaratri, or after Navaratri sometime, when we were sitting on the floor in the kitchen underneath all the stoves, it gets kind of grimy under there. So they took care of all of that, so we all get to go into a nice kitchen for our entire week. So just to give everybody a little bit of an idea of what we're going to cover this week. So we will, on one of the mornings, we'll also be every morning we'll gather here at 10, and then usually the first half an hour we'll have some kind of an orientation or review what we did yesterday real quick in 5 minutes or less. But we will each day focus on something different. So for example, tomorrow morning we'll probably be chanting the Annapurna Stotram. So we'll all be doing that together. So everyone will have sheets, so we'll all get to learn about Annapurna, whose murti we also have out here in the courtyard. But we will have the chanting books for that, so that'll be something that we'll be doing. We'll also study Baba's Siddha cooking book and his philosophy. We'll also be talking about the masala dabbar, that stainless dabbar that has all of the magics and the spices in that, so we'll all be reviewing that. And I do have just a little, a surprise at the end. Everybody will be gifted with something on Friday.
So bubble.
So, what?
So bubble.
What was that?
Two shards by the way.
What?
2 shards gifted.
2 shards gifting, so
Yeah, everyone from me.
Everyone from you, bubbles. Okay, lovely, thank you.
And one live over to Shanti Mandir, this standing.
Yeah, and then we'll be reviewing the spices and the medicinal properties of all of the spices and how the magics all work, so that'll be another aspect of that. So what we are going to do today, the first thing that we're going to go into is going to be Moong by Prabhu. Now the one thing that I want to say about Moong that is great is that if anyone is ever anywhere in the world, Moong is one thing which he's going to show us in today's class that can be made into 3 different items. So today when we go into the kitchen, he's going to be showing us how to make sabut moong, which is the moong that we always have for breakfast, which is always a nice protein in the mornings, and that we've started to incorporate here 2 times a week. And then he's also going to show us how to make rasawala moong, which is the moong that we usually have on Saturdays sometimes, or during the intensives. Something that's filling, but it's a 1-dish item, so one doesn't have to be looking for something to go with it. It stands alone. And it can be done with potatoes or without potatoes. And then the third one is moong, that when it's sprouted and it has the little tails at the end of it, that can go into a sprouted moong salad. So what we're going to learn this morning is all 3 of these. Now, just a little bit of an idea of how it's going to, of what's going to take place in the kitchen. The way it's going to work is we'll all go into the kitchen. Prabhu will stand on the side, obviously, where the stove is, everybody gathered around. What we are going to try to do, mostly all of the ingredients each day will already be chopped ahead of time, because otherwise we don't have enough time to put it all together and still make the time frame of serving lunch at 1 o'clock. But what we will do is, just like a pradakshina, going around that stainless table, everybody will be kind of moving around one at a time, so people get to put things in the pot, you get to touch the spices, you get to stir the pot, you get to put all your love and joy and energy and Shakti into it, and then everybody will take turns. So we'll just kind of keep it like a moving mandala, I guess, yeah. And then at the end, then we'll all have that'll be what we have at lunchtime, right? But then side by side to that, so like say for example today is rasawala moong, rice and papad. She'll, on the side, will be finishing up the rice and finishing up the pasta. So, but we'll try to keep all of our attention on to whoever the cook is. So today our designated cook is Prabal. And then we'll have that. And then in the afternoon, we'll all meet again at 3 p.m. Directly to the kitchen for the afternoon baking session. And again, it'll be the same type of thing where everybody gets to come up and at least mix something, add something to the batter. Everybody can take turns with putting the individual cookies on the trays, getting them in the oven, and while they're in the oven, we'll be starting the chai thing simultaneously so that everything can be coordinated, ready together, and then out will come to the dining room for all of us to share together. So does anybody have any immediate questions right now or something that I didn't think of? Go ahead. Yes.
You said everybody will put spices.
Yeah. So like, he'll have the masala dover, so like when they come up, so Prabhu can say, here, you put the cayenne pepper, and you put the this, so everybody, yeah.
So if it only takes a quarter spoon of salt.
No, there's nothing different to do. We'll find something for everyone.
I'm just...
I promise you. Everyone's going to have their hands in it. Yes.
What he should do, what Prabal should do, he knows how much quantity goes in this moong,
Yeah.
so he should take out that much quantity only. So like if Sita wants to put 1
Yeah,
spoon,
but he has to pay attention.
no, that's he has to do that.
He'll be observing his whole process there, and he'll make sure it comes out just perfect. But I have faith in every one of our cooks, and I have faith in every one of our bakers. I have to say.
No, it's
Hands
not
down.
it's not the baker or the cook. I am
No,
the
but they'll be
student.
observing.
The question is, you have faith in the students.
Yes, and I have faith in the students that the cooks will be overseeing them and the bakers will be overseeing them and making sure it's not too much and it's not too little and it's just enough, like the chandi pot. Too much or too little? Yes.
What kind of cookies are we making?
Today it's going to be Pecan Sandies by Jackie Carter. So today is Pecan Sandies. So does everybody remember those are the ones that are rolled up in the powdered sugar?
They came the first day of Navratri.
Yeah, the white ones. They're white in colors. They're called sandies. Some people call them snowballs. I think they have many different.
So chai and cookies is at 5 o'clock. Dinner.
Then you tell me. Wherever you want to go with it.
Huh?
Yeah, I think I'll leave that to you and Vivek to coordinate the times on that afterwards.
7 o'clock dinner.
Huh?
That's how we usually have. We have 7 o'clock dinner.
Okay, perfect.
That's
Yeah.
enough.
So is everybody?
Can we have a dinner class too then? Because if I don't want to eat lunch.
No, I think right now I would prefer to commit to the mornings and leave it at that for now. So I'm sure that I have enough preparation time to regather and get ready for the next day so that I feel like I can do an absolutely full-hearted offering.
And I just want to
to him
say,
and to you.
I want to say about Moong, that Moong is in Ayurveda the only digestive food. If you ever are stuck up, which happens, Moong is something you can eat, and especially you can drink the water of Moong. Like when I was sick last January, that's what I had for 10 or 12 days. And it cleanses you. So one of the things they will bring up is arm and Ayurveda and that.
Okay, so with that, I think we'll.
Yes, got to go.
What? I'm totally relaxed. Except for right here.
Sadhguru.
Adonai,